Look at the band is back together. Tristan and I don't do a lot of webinars together. So this is because our schedules are so different.
Professional.
But we said we are going to do this Brendan Kane webinar together.
Magnificent book, by the way. That, you know what I love about your books is that there's two types of books out there. There are the books that are full
Books
of
with
just,
pictures, books and books with words.
well, yeah, like stories and not a lot of fluff, right? And then there's books that are written like Brendan's books, which are great stories, but let me break it down for you to show you exactly how this works and why.
Well,
And
you know
that's
what
what I
I
love about
love?
your book.
I recently bought the new Gary Vaynerchuk book about social media. And I
That's a good
feel
book.
like, and I'm not knocking Gary V, like his books are really good. Um, I feel like, Gary's books are, for the creator in you, right? And then,
Hmm.
well, so are Brendan's, but then Brendan's books are like for the
Science,
business,
dude.
like
It's
the
the
business
science.
person. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like I look at Gary's books and I just follow the pictures. But then but with Brendan's books, no, I'm serious. With Brendan's books like Hook Point and I've used 1 million followers. I've used that strategy because Gary Keller got me that book. Hook Point, like these, I'm trying to figure out how to explain this. His books are more for the, getting down and dirty. You know what I'm saying? Like the nitty gritty,
I
like
see what
the
you're saying.
the the
Brendan
the
Kane, smart.
minutia.
Gary, not so smart. Okay, I got you. I see what
No,
you're
no,
saying.
like this really breaks it down. Like if since
Dude, I
the
love the
fact
book.
that you
Okay.
could write
I love
the
everything
fact
you're
that you could
saying.
write 300 pages on going viral is
That's a good point.
like beyond me. All right, let's just get into this before I dig my grave any deeper.
There
Um,
you go.
So, the guide to going viral, the art and science of succeeding on social media. We're going to talk about this comprehensive framework for creating impactful social media content. We have Brendan Kane. Brendan Kane is the social media expert for the stars. Let's talk just some of your names. Just throw out some of the people that you've done social for.
Name
Taylor
drop.
Swift. So I'm just going to drop Taylor Swift's name. I'll drop whoever else's name should we drop? Let's just give us like some brands that you've done.
MTV, Vice Magazine, Viacom, IKEA,
Yeah.
Skechers shoes.
So,
So across the board.
lots of brands and celebrities. Brendan wrote, I think the most well-known book is 1 million Followers in 30 Days, which is a fantastic book. And, it's great because you actually did it yourself. Because Brendan has over 1 million followers on Instagram. And when you started out on that voyage, how many followers did you have? And it literally only took 30 days with your formula, right?
Yeah, so I did the initial experiment on Facebook, starting with 0 followers, and then I did a separate experiment on Instagram, both starting with 0 followers, just starting from scratch.
And
Hmm.
and it got to 1 million. So it's not like you wrote Hook Point, and it's interesting because like the name of 1 million followers, the name of that book is such a hook, and you look at it and you're like, this is a gimmick, but if you do it, it could work. I mean, it's not going to work for everybody because you're not Brendan, but it could work for you if you follow it, to a T. And you have to obviously have the time and the effort and the money to invest in doing something like that. Would you say?
Yeah, I mean, all of our strategies and everything have done and outline in all of our books will work. It's just the
Yeah.
biggest challenge is the mindset and the dedication to actually making it work.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
our model, and the stuff that we'll break down today and in terms of the model for that's the basis of the new book, The Guide to Going Viral, that model has been used to generate 60 billion views, 100 million followers, and 1 billion in revenue. And we've made it work for every industry or sector. So it's not like some people will say, well, my industry, is not sexy. Real estate can't go viral. Well, yes, real estate can
Yes,
go
it
viral.
can.
Taxes can go viral. Fitness, nutrition, any subject matter can go viral. It's just the contextual nature of how you create that content that allows it to break through.
I think that agents think that real estate content can't go viral because there are so many roadblocks for promoting real estate content on social media in terms of, having it be a special category, right? But if you're, not advertising a listing, but if you're advertising, I don't know, a city tour or something that
Well, you
isn't,
can like you look at Ryan Serhant, you look
yeah,
at
he goes
Ennis.
viral all the time.
I don't know what Ennis's last name is, but Ennis does better, and ENES, but he does better than Ryan Serhant, and he's not even touring his own listings. And he gets
No.
paid. I don't even know what he gets paid
Yeah.
at this point, but I know before like a few years ago, he was getting $10,000 for each listing he would tour to put on his YouTube channel.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Um,
Well, if I would say in as Ken Posick, Tristan, is a really great example because he's grown his social medias to hundreds of thousands of followers, creating the Orlando Real Instagram page, which is like essentially real estate news surrounding Orlando, and they just surpassed 100,000 followers on Instagram with that. So you can be very creative.
there's also Caleb Simpson. He's not a real estate agent, but he's the guy that approaches random strangers on the street and asks, how much do you pay for rent in a specific city?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
asks
yeah.
for
Can I see your
a tour.
apartment?
And
That
like
kind of guy.
celebrities now will do it with him and things like so
Yeah, you're
definitely
like,
real
how does
estate
he
has
bump
proven
it
to
into
go,
that person?
huh?
It's like, how does he always bump into
Oh,
that
that's
celebrity on the street?
a lot of the man on the street format is set up ahead of time,
For
but it
sure.
still works. Like it doesn't, like I have a friend and we advise him. His name is Myron Golden, and he was just
Oh, nice.
approached. Yeah, he was just approached by an account called School of Hard Knocks that
Mm-hmm.
asks, how much money do you
Oh,
make? How do you make your money?
that's a good page. Yeah.
And that video that is now at 70, or the video that he was featured in has 75 million views on Instagram.
I like that guy. He's like, excuse me,
Myron's
sir.
brilliant though, dude.
Excuse
That
me, sir.
guy's
What kind? He goes, what kind of money do you make to afford that car here in Los Angeles? That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good page.
all right, Brendan. When it comes to, I have a question about just books in general. Why, why write book number three? What's the reasoning behind writing the books for you?
For us, it's pure marketing and lead gen. Like I don't write books for, some people want to be authors for many different reasons. Some want to do it to try and make money off of books, which is very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Um, Others want kind of just that calling card that they say they've written a book, and that can lead to opportunities, whether it be speaking or other types of things. For us, it's purely a marketing vehicle to acquire clients, but at the same time it's also a vehicle to get our message out and help people that may not be able to afford to work with us. So in terms of kind of why do different types of books, is each book is kind of tailored to do something different. Like 1 Million Followers is my first book, that the first version was written in 2018, and we've updated it like 2 or 3 times, but that one was kind of like the hook of really kind of establishing high level awareness from social media, and it attracted a very specific crowd most of the time, which was kind of solopreneurs, entrepreneurs that wanted to gain their audience. And then Hook Point, How to Stand Out in a 3-Second World, focused on a very specific subset of what we talked about in 1 Million Followers, which is you really need to grab attention in those first few seconds in order to win on social media and go super deep into that subject. But that book, we've seen attracts more kind of like, it attracted like the chairman of a $15 billion organization. Like it's kind of like a different audience it attracts. And then
Yeah.
the guide to going viral is more of like a how-to guide using our model, the model that we spent the past, 6 years and several $1 million to invent. So it's more of kind of like almost like the For Dummies series, but
Yeah.
with kind of like depth into our kind of creative model. It's the reason we call it a guide is it truly is a guide in terms of like there's like we outline our process like step by step in depth.
Nice. I like that.
Kristen,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't
That's
sure where you were going with that question about books. I thought you were going to ask, like, how do you read them?
well, I mean, dude, that's a whole different story because when I
You were
picked
like,
up
I
when I
have a
got his
question about
book,
books. I have a question
when I
about
got
books.
his
Do you
book,
start on page one or?
I was like, well, no, I usually don't start on page one. I
Well,
go to
no,
the
but yeah, I mean, a
content.
lot of these books,
Like,
yeah, like this. I feel like this could also be just a I mean, it's going to be a
actually,
reference.
you know what? I want to show your book here because I know you sent me one, but what I also did, Brendan, is I got it on Kindle as well. And
Cool.
I wanted to showcase a few things here really quick. Let me go back to the beginning.
While you're looking for that, I have a quick question
Shoot.
for Brendan. So, how I feel like Instagram to go viral on Instagram has never been harder in the sense that like, you know, you look at something like TikTok, you could post a video on TikTok and it get tens of thousands of views. You post that same video on Instagram, it could get only like a couple hundred if you're lucky, right? Why is it so much more difficult on Instagram than TikTok for people to see your videos?
Well, I would say it's so there's a few different layers to the answer to that question. The first
Okay.
layer is there is it's a different user interface on TikTok versus Instagram. So you will see certain videos go viral on TikTok that don't go viral on Instagram, or vice versa. Like that account that Myron was featured on, that School of Hard Knocks,
Mhm.
does way better on Instagram than it does on TikTok.
Okay, that's
So there's
interesting.
certain formats and structures that will work different for each platform. TikTok is more algorithm friendly for new users in terms of getting the behavior of getting people to post, but
Okay.
there's no free wins. There will be, a cutoff to kind of that to that, success that it'll give you. I would say both platforms are pretty challenging in that there's so much competition on each of them. There's more competition on Instagram than there is on TikTok today. So it may seem like it's a little bit easier to win on TikTok, but some of the things that we can cover today will kind of show the path of how to master any platform, including Instagram, because we have clients that have a lot of success in that platform.
I also feel like Instagram is constantly changing what it takes to go viral, right? Like now you need to create, it's not about the likes or the comments, it's about the shares, right? Like I have videos on my Instagram that get like tons of likes and like 200 views. You know what I'm saying? Like people are clearly engaging in it, which would you would
Mhm.
think if they're engaging with likes or comments, then more people would see it. But if they're not sharing it, which is very difficult to create shareable content, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like they're always changing because before it was other, it was likes or comments or whatever it was. And now it's like these shares, they're always constant. How would someone keep up with what the algorithm is doing? Because it's not readily
So
available. Like it's not
so
obvious.
the reality of kind of how we think about algorithms, and I just want to kind of point out an important point that you're bringing up, is the algorithms control reach and distribution of the content. So the algorithm determines whether 100 people or 10 million people see your content. So what is the primary goal for the algorithm? Well, it's to serve the underlying business objective of these platforms. And what is the underlying business objective? Is to generate revenue by serving ads. So the longer people spend on a platform, the more ads they can serve, the more profit they can generate. Thus, everything that they're optimizing against is to keep people on the platforms as long as humanly possible.
Yeah, that's
That's
it.
it. They're not there to suppress your reach to get you to pay. They're not, 95% of the time your account's not shadow banned. Those things are not at play. So what Instagram specifically is doing in that use case is, they're looking at a hypothesis, which I'm sure proves right based upon data, because they're big on really looking at the data to support their decisions. Is if somebody shares your piece of content, it's being shared with a friend in the
Mhm.
DMs, and that DM turns into a conversation, and thus it leads to a longer
Right.
time on the platform. With that said, is in order to get somebody to share a piece of content, you still need to be able to hold their attention for as long as possible to be able to convey the story. And that story needs to do a well enough job to spark the motivation and inspiration to actually share it with somebody else. So, what I advise in everything that we do, and we can kind of talk through some examples and even show some, is focus less on the algorithm, focus less on what you hear in articles and things of that nature, and focus more on mastering the skill set of telling stories on these platforms. The better you are as a storyteller, the more success that you're going to have. It's as simple as that. Is like, if you can tell a story that gets somebody to stop the scroll, watch as much of the video as possible, you're
Mhm.
going to win. The algorithm will want to see that to more people, and the shares will follow in relation to that. But I think oftentimes as content creators, we're kind of looking for that easy fix or that
Yeah.
hack that's going to, get us there. And I would say those easy fix and hacks worked a while ago when there was less people on the platform. Today, there's close to 5 billion people on social media. Thus,
Yeah.
if any one of us opens up an app, there's probably 150,000 pieces of content the algorithm can serve to us based upon the accounts that we follow
Yeah.
and the content we've engaged with. So what these algorithms are really looking for is what is going to serve this person that opened up the app, keep them engaged, keep on the platform as long as possible, so we can serve more ads and thus
Yeah.
generate more profit.
Yeah. Is that why I see less and less from my actual friends that I'm connected to on Instagram and more from like other things? Because I don't feel like I see a lot of a lot of the people that I'm following. I do, but I don't see the friends. I see like, the news sources or, the companies. I see more of those that I follow as opposed to like, Brendan, like you or Tristan or something.
Yeah, it is. And it's interesting because it wasn't too long ago. It may have been 2 years ago, maybe longer, that Zuckerberg came out and said, we're going to start prioritizing more of your friends' content.
Yeah, well, I don't
Um,
think that's happened.
well, I think what happened is they tested it and they realized that their
Oh,
retention metrics dropped.
got it.
And
Okay, that makes
thus they
sense. Because
needed to
Tristan's stuff is
prioritize.
kind of, just kidding.
Hey,
But there, I
I
mean, again, it's like
gonna
it's
say
it's
something about
it's the algorithms are very sophisticated and deep in terms of the scientists behind it, but it's very
Yeah.
simplistic in terms of what they're optimizing against. And that's just pure retention.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of it is also rage bait too. They want you to get angry. If you get angry, you stay on the platform and you argue with people. That's their secret weapon. Things that make
I
you
would say
mad.
that's a secret weapon for X. If you're on X, you see a lot more of that than some of the other platforms.
Yeah, true,
But
true.
so
Yeah.
all right.
Tristan, what did you want to show us?
Brent, I have a question in regards to a section in your book, because I really think you mentioned earlier in the book in chapter 1 that the key is creating a format, right? And what I'm looking at when you're saying, "Hey, look, I've had all this experience helping out these amazing people running great socials." But what you found, the only proven method to become an expert at creating algorithm-friendly content is to research top performing content and formats. And you bring out and saying, hey, the idea is to create a format so that it's a process that you can follow consistently. What is that in storytelling? Do you have a format that we can follow that says, hey, if you follow this, it'll create great things for you on social?
yeah, so let's actually dive into I'll just kind of pull up a few slides that we can kind of look and understand what I'm talking about by a format. And also for people in the room, I put a link in there that they can
Got it.
download the book right now for free, if they want to kind
Oh,
of dive in and find some
that's
some,
very
some
cool.
questions. So let's kind of dive into, because I think Tristan, that's a really interesting kind of question, and it's a big crux of the book and to success in social media. So I want to start with how people are typically looking at social media versus kind of how our model looks at social media. So most people are looking at it from a quantitative layer, which means they're looking at content from the number of views, likes, shares, things of that nature, which is a good indicator of telling you whether something worked or didn't work. But it falls short because it doesn't tell you the why behind it. So we hear it all the time as like, we were producing all this great content, but why are we only getting 500 views on the content? Or,
Yeah.
we produced 30 pieces of content and this one piece of content got 1 million views, but every other piece of content's getting 1,000 views. Why is that? And that's where the qualitative analysis comes in, where it provides these answers of looking at and understanding why something succeeds and why something fails to perform. So with our model and what's detailed in the book is what we're looking for is what we call formats to do this deep qualitative analysis. Now, our team has done about 10,000 hours of research and we've identified over 220 different formats, and we're identifying more each week. So and I'm saying that because there's so many different formats to choose from. And I'll show some examples in here in a minute. But as I show these examples, just know that there's a lot of different options out there in terms of looking at what I mean from a format. So another high level example of a format is movies. So any movie that's been produced over the past 50 years, and Nick, you and I have nerded out about comic book movies and things of that nature, they all follow the same structure, the same format. It's a 3-act structure in terms of how they tell stories. Past 50 years, it doesn't matter if it's the Avengers, Harry Potter, James Bond, a horror movie, Oppenheimer, they're all following the same format and structure. And if you think about somebody like Steven Spielberg, who's one of the greatest storytellers of our time, when he's creating a movie, he's not reinventing that structure each time. He's mastering the nuances of that structure and getting better and better and better as a storyteller. That's how he gets good. So let's kind of dig into an example of a format on social media. So this one is called a visual metaphor, and it's a format that involves 3 major elements: an abstract or complex topic, a visual representation of that topic with physical objects, and then a verbal explanation of the topic. So we're going to look at an insurance agent, Chris Cobb. And this video has 5.5 million views, but we're going to watch an example of him using this visual metaphor format, and then we can talk about it further.
This is how real estate works. It's 60
Oh, you know what, Brendan? You actually have to share your audio too. Do you know how to do that?
Is it not, you're not hearing it?
No, you have to share
Very,
when you
very low.
share. Yeah, when you share your screen,
Mhm.
you have to select advanced and then select share audio, and then you can share your screen again.
In the meantime, I'm reposting up the link to get the free book. It's in the
Oh,
chat.
I'm posting it right now.
No, it's just in the chat. You're posting it in
Oh.
lab code, posting it in the
Yeah.
chat. Grab that link, put in your name, your phone number, get the free book. I absolutely loved his book. I highlighted it in different places, and we're implementing some of the formats he's talking about. So please read it. It's
I
a
just
powerful.
posted it up in Lab Code Agents too.
Haley, it's in the chat, but I'm gonna dump it into the
You
question.
know what it is? Let me post this because in the chat the link doesn't show. It only here. This is a long link, but at least you can click it.
We're in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
sure.
Hallie, what's up, Hallie? Hallie's my homegirl, Hallie McCrory.
This is how real estate works.
Can you hear it now or no?
Yeah, I can hear it lightly. It's good.
Okay, I'll try and put the microphone closer to it.
This is how real estate works. It's 60 seconds. Here we have John, and he's looking at buying a house, but the problem is John doesn't have the money for it. And that's when the bank says, "Hey, John, I heard you want to buy this house, and it's $5." Well, what we'll do is we can loan it to you. And all you have to do is pay us back in a thank you note. Give us $2 back. It's called interest. And John says, "Yes, I'll take it." So he takes his $5 and he go buys the house. Now, what happens is over time, this house goes up in value because they got a new Starbucks, they have shopping, new restaurants, they even have a zoo nearby. And someone comes to John, they say, "This is a beautiful home in a great neighborhood. John, I'll pay you $10 for it. Just give it to me." And John's like, "Well, my kids are grown, so here are the keys. I don't need this big house anymore." And he takes the $10, runs to the bank, and says, "You remember you gave me $5 to buy this house? Well, here's your $5. But also, I promise you, I was going to pay you $2 as a thank you." It's called interest. And now John gets a chance to walk away with a $3 profit. And this can work in real estate. If you buy a house and sell it for more than you actually bought it for, that's because it went up in value. And everybody's happy because the bank, they were able to loan John the money, give him the stream house, and they still made some money. But John is happy too because he got a chance to live his dream house, but also making a profit when he sold it. Now, if you like this type of information, make sure that you follow for more. And do me a favor, comment below what concept you want to see next.
Hey, I have a question about that. First of all, I love it. He's like, I'll give you a couple extra dollars as thank you. That's called interest. Um, I have a quick question. I thought that part of the new algorithm was you're not allowed, it doesn't like it when you ask people to comment or to follow. Did I hear that incorrectly somewhere?
Yeah. Because why?
I
Why would it care?
Who's the guy that runs Instagram? What's his name, Tristan?
Mosseri?
Yeah. I feel like he actually did say that one time. Maybe they did it for a hot minute and then took
I
it
think
back.
that probably what they're alluding to is that a great storytelling tactic? Like it works for him because he just told an amazing story and he's asking
Got
for it
it.
at the end.
Okay, that makes
For
sense.
most people, they're focused too much on the CTA, too much on selling something that it
Okay,
detracts from it.
that
But
makes
so
sense.
this is an
Okay.
example of a format, and I think we can kind of see like the visual
Yeah.
metaphor he's using to tell the story. Again, this video got
It was great.
5.5 million views. He's talking about how to buy a house. So most people will look at Chris and be like, "Oh, I see what he's doing. He's just using visual objects to kind of tell a story." And then 99% of people that just kind of see that and just try and go replicate it, they ultimately fail in reproducing the results because they don't understand the why, what drives the success of it. So we're going to do a little exercise now we're going to watch 2 more of his videos, same guy, same visual metaphor format. And then what we're going to do is we're going to break down and guess which one performed better and then break down exactly why it performed better.
Okay.
So let me just make sure the audio works again.
Yeah, it should still work. Yeah.
In 60 seconds. So here we have John who just got a new hot ride. And that's when the insurance company comes in and says, "Hey, John, nice car, but have you thought about what would happen if you get in an accident?" And he's like, "No." They said, "Well, John, if you pay us $1 a month, it's called a premium. We'll cover your car." And he's like, "Okay, that's a no-brainer." So John speeds off. He's having a good time. On the highway, he's texting and driving. God, please don't do that. Because he actually gets to the fender bender with his friend Marcus. And John is freaking out because he's thinking, "How am I gonna fix Marcus' car? How am I gonna fix my own car?" And that's when the insurance company says, "John, you've been paying the $1 in premium. So here you go. Here's $10. Go fix Marcus' car and go fix your own." And John is super relieved because he did not have $10 to fix his car. And you may be wondering, how does the insurance company afford this? Well, they have thousands of Johns who put money into his car every single month, and they're not getting in accidents. But the insurance company is smart. They said, "John, I'm glad you're safe, but I'm sorry to give you the bad news. You're a risky driver. You're costing us too much. So instead of $1 in premium, I'll have to charge you 2 every single month." And that's how car insurance works. John is paying a little bit to cover a lot, but because John is more risky now, the insurance company is going to charge him more. But even worse, they may drop his coverage. If you like the content, follow for more. This was actually a request from someone else. So do me a favor, comment below what you'd like to see, and I'll make it happen.
So that's the first video.
This is how bonds work in 60 seconds. So John has been killing pineapple. And they say, "You know what, John? We're going to pay you a $10 million salary, but also we want to give you a bonus because of your performance." And that's when the government says, "Hey, John, I heard about that bonus. You want to show how you can make a bonus on your bonus?" And John's like, "Of course." They said, "Well, we'll give you this thing called a bond. And what you can do is just give us 2 of your lists. And we guarantee we're going to give you at least 3 more lists in 2 years." John's like, "How can you promise me that?" I said, "We're the government. We can just print more money if we need to. It's called inflation." And John's like, "Okay, that makes sense." So the government does, they say, "You know what? We got to invest John's money. Otherwise, we're going to take a loss. So let's start investing over the next 2 years." And boom, they make a huge return. And that's when John says, "Hey, guys, remember me? You promised me 3 lists. Well, here's your bond back. Can I get my 3 lists?" They said, "Of course. Here you go." And they pay John his 3 lists. And the beautiful thing about it is everybody's happy because John makes money guaranteed with no loss, but also the government makes a killing. And this is how bonds work. If you like this content, follow for more.
All right. So which one do you guys think performed better, the first one or the second one?
Let's
So
get the audience. What do you guys think?
yeah, vote in the chat, 1 or 2. I liked the first one better, but I feel like the second one performed better because it was shorter.
I like the first one better too, but I feel like the second one performed better because of the video movement side
Yeah,
to
moving
side.
around a lot. It was
Yeah.
harder to hear. I mean, he
know
rushed
what?
his words.
I'm gonna go with 1, Brandon.
You're gonna
I'm gonna be like number 1 performed better.
All
That's
right.
every split.
Looking
Go.
at the audience, and we've got a bit of
Yeah, I couldn't understand
a
him
lot of
really in
one.
number 2, but yeah. Okay.
Okay, cool. We'll give 5 more seconds and then we'll reveal the results and we'll break down why.
Oh, someone went with the content. Look at that. Car insurance relates to everyone.
Oh,
All
that's
right, cool.
true. That is true.
So the first video, 5.2 million
Oh,
views. The second video is 73,000 views. So
interesting.
important thing is same creator,
Yeah.
same format. So
Topic
why is that?
selection.
So what we're looking at is what we look for is like what we call performance drivers. These are things that drive the performance up of a format or drive the performance down. And
This is
typically
so interesting.
it's not really the content, it's the context. So in the first one, the first performance driver that we look at in this format is it's easy to follow, the speed of the speech. In the high performer, the
Yeah.
first one, the creator speaks with a natural cadence and each story block takes him a foot down the table. It's easy to follow versus the underperformer, he is speaking so fast and it's
Yeah.
hard to keep up. And one of the things that happens from a subconscious level is the minute subconsciously we feel like we're being left behind, we're automatically going to scroll to the next video. Because remember, it takes very little effort for us to go to the next video. We know there's another video there. So this is a big performance driver that we see in content that people struggle with is really that cadence, that pacing with it. Then we have the clarity of the symbolism. So in the first video, the high performer, the toy cars effectively represent the new car and the metal key represents the insurance company. There's consistent symbols that can help us logically, view the explanation of it versus the underperformer. There's a pineapple, there's coffee lid cups, a crown, pickup sticks. There's not an obvious connection to the ideas that they're representing. So again, the viewer starts to feel a little bit left behind. We can't make the viewer think too hard. Otherwise, they're going to move on to the next video. And then the topic selection. And I forgot who it was in the chat that they got it right. Everybody needs car insurance. So this is a topic with universal appeal. And we see in this format, gold tier videos, meaning the high performers, tend to discuss topics with the general viewer. So there's something familiar, giving them a low threshold to cross over to assess the value of the content versus the underperformer. He's covering a topic that's really unfamiliar to a viewer. Bond investing is a pretty niche topic that typically a viewer won't be familiar with. So this is kind of like a very surface level idea of how our process works in terms of we identify a clear format, and then we typically go a lot deeper than this. This is just kind of a surface level, but typically when we're doing a format, we'll take 5 or 10 of the high performers in this format. Then we'll take 5 to 10 of the average performers and 5 to 10 of the low performers. And what we're looking at is what's happening in those high performers, typically from a contextual nature, that's not showing up in the low performers. And that starts to give you an indication of what actually drives the success of this format. And the reason we focus on formats instead of trends are very fleeting. It doesn't allow you to master a skill set of communication. Like if you think about the ice bucket challenge, like how many people use the ice bucket challenge today? Nobody. And also 99% of people who use the ice bucket challenge don't go viral. So it's not a repeatable thing that we can get better and better and better at. Another analogy I could give you is, people like to tell you to chase trend after trend after trend. It's kind of like if we say we want to learn to play a musical instrument, in week 1, we start with the piano, and then we say, no, we're not going to do the piano. We're going to do the saxophone. And then after week 2, we're like, no, we're not going to do the saxophone. We're going to do the flute. And then after week 3, we're like, no, we're not going to do the flute. We're going to do the xylophone. Like, are we ever going to get good at playing a musical instrument? No, we're not, because we're changing up the variables and the dynamics of it. So that's really the power of the format. So let's do another one. Let's do another one together to show you another example of a format. And by no means am I sitting here and saying this is the exact format you should do. There's hundreds of these formats out there. And I also want you to kind of, as we watch these formats, even if they're not talking about the specific subject matter that you want to talk about, that doesn't mean that these formats can't be used to it. So the visual metaphor format, Chris Cobb is a client of ours that we just watched, but there's another individual, Dr. Julie Smith, a clinical psychologist on TikTok, that has grown millions of followers using that same format to talk about clinical psychology like PTSD, anxiety, panic attacks. So these formats are very flexible in terms of the content that you can put into them. So let's watch another example of this format, which is 2 characters, 1 light bulb. This is, again, a flexible storytelling format that's super effective. It's simple to execute. And the premise of it, and you'll see it's very clear, it features 2 characters played by the same person. One is a novice, one is an expert, and they're breaking down a misconception about a specific subject matter. So let's watch this one by Mark Tilbury.
I'm just about to buy my first house in cash. How cool is that? Are you sure you want to do that? Yeah, of course, because I won't have to give any money to the bank. Yeah, but having a mortgage is one of the cheapest ways you can borrow money. If you can borrow at a low rate of 3 to 4%, you can invest the rest in the S&P 500, which historically has given 8% return. And what does that mean to me then? You'll make more money than you have to pay back in interest. And that's why you follow me for more money tips.
So this is example of 2 characters, 1 light bulb. That video got 12.9 million views.
Wow.
So, and Mark Tilbury is extremely successful on social. So let's do this exercise again together. We're going to watch 2 videos, same format. This time it's from different creators. One was a high performer, one was a low performer. So as you watch the videos, try and determine for yourself. And this time around, try and kind of think if you spot anything that would cause it to be a low performer or high performer. We'll reveal the results and we'll talk about it.
Go.
Dude, don't take out money from your Roth IRA. You're going to get penalized. No, I'm not taking everything out. I'm only taking out my contributions. What does that mean? This means that if I deposited $6,000 into my account and it grew to $7,000, I made a $1,000 capital gain, but I can still withdraw $6,000 of my initial principal. You don't pay any fees at all. It's tax and penalty free. But why would you do this? Wouldn't this affect your compounded growth? Yeah, you typically want to keep your money in there as long as possible, but just in case life happens and you need the money, just know that the money's there for you to take out. I wish they taught this to us in school. It's okay. You can follow Call to Leap for more money hacks.
Okay, let's watch the second one.
I'm just about to buy my...
Dude, don't take out money.
How on earth am I supposed to put $40,000 down to buy a $200,000 house? Why do you think you need 40 grand? Because that's 20%. I thought you do not need 20% down on a house anymore. What? There are so many loan options now. You can put as little as 3.5% down. That's only $7,000 on a $200,000 house. Seriously? Yeah, one option is an FHA loan. They're especially good for first-time homebuyers. Okay, that all sounds amazing. So what's the catch? Well, there's this thing called mortgage insurance. What's mortgage insurance? Talk more about mortgage insurance in part 2.
All right, so which one do you guys think performed best? Put it in the chat. The first one or the second one?
2.
All right, let's see what the group says.
Watch. We're all going to lose. We're all in it together, everyone. We voted video 2.
Well, can
Yeah,
I
I
give
think
my
every-
reason? I feel like the reason,
What's the
Is
reason,
because-
Nick? Tell us.
well, I feel she was easier to understand, and buying a house is something that everyone strives to do at some point in their life, and she leaves you hanging with a second part.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
So you guys were right. The second video, 2 million views.
I
The
love
first
how we
video,
live in a world where
200,000 views.
200,000 views is terrible.
Yeah.
So
what
is
is this?
that- So it's not that it's terrible. We're looking at this from a
I know.
format
I'm
perspective.
kidding.
No, but it's a really important point because most people would be like, I would love to have 200,000 views. But the point is you have to compare the high performers to the low performers to understand what drives it to even get to the
Yeah.
200,000 views. It's like I went to film school. We study Alfred Hitchcock, Steven Spielberg. It doesn't mean I'm going to be Alfred Hitchcock or
Right.
Steven Spielberg or want to be that, but you have to learn what drives that. So let's kind of dive into the performance drivers here. So the first one, as you know, you put out there, Nick, is the common misconception. And that is about, you know, everybody can kind of relate to the common misconception, or for some people, they don't think it's a misconception going in, is you have to put 20% down on a house. So it delivers an aha moment for most people. And that is a critical performance driver with videos versus the underperformer. He's talking about a Roth IRA. There's really no misconception to debunk. And, you know, it's lacking that perceived aha light bulb moment in terms of the subject that he's breaking down.
Yeah.
The other one, and Nick, you nailed this as well, is allowing time for to process the information. Is the high performers in this format use proportional pacing that allows them to absorb the advice while these complex topics or points are being given, versus the underperformers, they're just going super fast. There's not enough time to process what's being talked about, so you get lost and you just scroll on to the next video. And then the last one is making it seem easy. Is in the high performer, the solution does seem attainable. The video focuses on the main point, making it easily digestible and valuable by explaining the reduced down payment, about the mortgage, and it makes the process feel more manageable. Versus the underperformer, it's extremely technical, it's extremely detailed. It really isolates the viewers who are not well versed in the topic, and it's going super deep into the weeds, Roth IRAs in a very short period of time. So it makes the viewer just feel extremely overwhelmed with too much information. So they're just scrolling past and moving to the next one. So through this process we just did with these two formats, we've actually just done qualitative analysis together. And this is really the key to what we have found with our creative model of, having 60 billion views and 100 million followers through social media, is by doing this exercise first and foremost by understanding there is a clear thing called a format. Because most people are chasing trends, or they're just creating content, creating ideas without looking for a clear structure that can help them succeed. And if we think about any other creative endeavor, like playing a musical instrument, there's a structure that you follow in order to get good at playing that. Or if you learn to become a filmmaker or write books, whatever that may be, there's a clear structure to being successful. And once you identify that format, then you do this exercise of really trying to understand what's the difference between a high performer versus a low performer in that specific format, so that you can understand the nuances that you need to kind of master in terms of that. So hopefully that was helpful and provided a little
I
bit
thought that was
more
great. And
context.
I hope people took screenshots of those winners and losers, because I feel like you can take a lot of that information even though you don't have the video in front of you and create some cool stuff with it. Especially the second one. Um, we can relate to that one about the misinformation about buying a house. I feel like we should all be doing something along those lines, Misinformation is super, and buying a house, and that's definitely sexier than a Roth IRA, because you can't explain what a Roth IRA is in 60 seconds, but you can definitely discuss a misconception around 20% down on a house.
Yeah,
A
and
lot of people
there's a
don't,
creator.
they don't know that.
There's a creator, her name's Erica Kohlberg, that uses that format for legal stuff. So she breaks down what happens if your flight gets canceled, what happens if your AirPods break, things of that nature, where she's taken legal, a very dense and unsexy subject, and made it gone viral by kind of taking that approach to it.
I like it.
Which we could do the same thing with real estate very easily. Interesting.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. So where are we at, Tristan?
Well, I wanted to know, Brandon, if you've created a format for storytelling that we could use and replicate, because I know in book
Hey, real
one.
quick, I know that someone's asking a question about where they can get in touch with you for coaching or training, Brendan. I don't want to
if they just go to hookpoint.com.
Okay, I'll post it in the chat. Go ahead. Sorry.
They can just schedule a call with our team, and they
That's a
can break
great
down the different options. But in terms of, so we've covered two formats. Both can be applied to that. There was the other one that we talked about, Caleb Simpson. Or let's find, let me see if I can find the links so we can actually share it with people.
Here, I got a link here for oh, sorry, to post hook point that they can click on. You can click on this one. Okay.
I'm just getting Ennis's channel, because that's one that
YouTube.
Yeah, because I think that Ennis, I think, performs better than Ryan Serhant in this format, and Serhant's got a bit of a personality that drives. So some people may not, but Ennis I mean, Ennis has got a good personality, but it's not like over the top that people could do. But he does property tours, and again, he will do property tours of properties he doesn't represent to build the audience, to build the views, build the audience. And then
Wow,
Caleb's
3.8 million subscribers. Yeah, you know, I mentioned Ken Posick earlier. He does that too. One of his biggest, and he does, yeah, videos on homes that aren't his. People just love to see the inside of really rich people's houses. And an agent for a house like that
But
is
you
totally going to say yes to if you want to do something like that.
but you can also do a format that it's like, is, you know, $200,000 in Phoenix, Arizona worth it? And then you can kind of do a tour, like you can do formats like that, or there's also the format that BuzzFeed created initially, but Mr. Beast uses, is like $100,000 house versus $1 million house in Arizona, and kind
Yeah.
of like do kind of those comparison formats work as well.
That's actually a really good idea, man. The comparison,
Yeah.
right? Let's take a look at the least expensive home in your city, right? Whatever city that is. Now let's go to the most expensive home on the market.
Yeah.
That would be a really good video on any market.
But you can even do it. You can even do it. It could be like 100,000 to $10 million home in your specific city, and you can do different tiers. You can do the 100,000, you can do the 500,000, you can do the million, the 5 million, the 10 million. So you can see kind of the different, you know, versions going up. And you know, even by doing that, you can start. You know, you can be within that threshold of the audience you are. So let's just say you specialize in $500,000 homes, you're still kind of specializing in that $500,000 home while kind of wrapping it in other different price points. But the biggest thing that I just want to say in terms of looking at these different recommendations is, you, it's not that you just pick one of these formats and you just try and do it. You really need to understand the science behind what makes that format successful.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same kind of analogy of, just because you go watch a movie in the movie theater doesn't mean you can make a movie. Like, you need to learn what it means to actually make a movie, or just because you watch somebody play piano doesn't mean that you can go off and play piano. You need
Right.
to kind of learn the nuances of what drives success in that format.
Well, it's storytelling, man. That's why I love going back
Oh,
to
100%.
book number one, where I remember you breaking down season. I don't remember. It's been a while, but I interviewed you a few times. I'm trying to remember the three F's. Was it feeling, facts, and there's
Fun.
another one. Yeah, fun. There you go. And you added two other ones under that, but those are the three I remember. What have you learned since then when it comes to storytelling? Is there a format?
So I'll break down that. Let me see if I can pull it up. But in terms of storytelling, like one of the things that we can relate to, I'm sure everybody can relate to on the call is, you know, when you're showing a house, you're telling a story about that house. And, you know, you get better and better and better of how to tell that story. Like, I've never sold a house. If I went in to try to tell a story of a house, I'd probably suck at it, you know, because I've never done it. And you take all these reps and time and energy to perfect the art of telling the story of selling a house. The same thing applies with social media. It's just a different medium and a different way to do it. So, Tristan, this was kind of what you're talking about is, we have a communication algorithm that's backed by 1.5 million communication assessments done worldwide. And what it shows us is there's different ways that people connect with our content, are either motivated by our content, our services, and us as individuals, or demotivated. So the largest subset of the population is feeling based. That's 30%. So they're going to make a connection with us, be motivated to work with us, share our content based upon how it emotionally makes them feel. So it's 30%. The second largest is fact based. It's 25%. For them, it's not how emotionally makes them feel. They want data, information, timeframes, who, what, when, where, why. And then 20% is fun based. So they want an exciting experience. They want stimulation. Like if you're talking about like a house, they want to know, why is this house going to be fun to live in? 10% is value based. They want to know, are you dedicated to me? Are you committed? Can I trust you? 10% is imagination. They're very reflective. They take information in. They like to be told what to do. If you think about Albert Einstein, if you saw the movie Oppenheimer, like in that movie, he was staring out at the lake. He was reflecting on the world. Like that is, all the biographies you hear about Albert Einstein, he would stare out the window for hours on end, just reflecting on the world. And then the smallest 5% is action based. So they want the bottom line, they want the best, they want to go for it, they want to make it happen. So you think about Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, he's not talking about his feelings, he's not talking about making sense or having fun or opinions. He's hanging off the side of airplanes, he's jumping off the side of buildings, he's going, going, going. Tom Cruise in real life is this personality type. That's why he does all of his own stunts. So if we think about real estate, for example, and selling a house, a lot of the marketing materials you will see is very fact based. It's, this house has 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and an acre of land. Now, if I were to sell a house using this model, you would say you could still want to do the facts. This house has 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and an acre of land. And you see this fireplace. Imagine what it's going to feel like when your family is sitting around this fireplace on Christmas Eve, opening these presents. And did you check out the pool in the backyard? You're going to have the funnest and craziest parties, and all of your neighbors are going to be super jealous. And I believe that this is the best house on the market for your family because of the school district it's in. But I would recommend to move fast now because this house isn't going to be on the market soon.
Now you have agents in the chat going, well, you can't mention Christmas and you can't mention family. Well, we get it. You get the point, though.
You guys can do a better job with that. It's just taking this single piece of content, which is the house, and contextualizing it in these different ways.
I think agents are just afraid to be different. They're afraid to set themselves apart. If you look at a friend of mine, Justin Himmelbaum.
Yep, I like him.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's a millionaire real estate agent. He only has like 10,000 followers, but he did $1 million in commission last year with only 10,000 followers on Instagram, and 100% of his business came from Instagram. But his videos are so funny and different. Like, he has one, he's like, you just don't want to buy this house. He's like, look at this kitchen, it's a mess. And he shows this immaculate kitchen. He's like, look at this backyard, it's so terrible. And then he shows this like incredibly customized backyard. Look at this master bathroom. It is just so outdated, and it's like gorgeous, right? Like, he's insulting the house in this funny way, but showing beautiful images of it while saying it's terrible and you don't want to live here. And it was like one of his highest viewed videos. You got to think outside the box.
And what he's doing is he's winning that 20% that's fun based. Because you don't see any other real estate agent doing that type of tone. Now, if he were to kind of broaden it out and layer some feelings and facts into those videos, it would, really break through. Like, the perfect example is if you look at the Dollar Shave Club video, the video that launched.
Oh, so good. Yeah.
They have a lot of fun and snarky, but there's facts, there's feelings, there's values in it. So they kind of take that snarky approach, but they layer in the different elements to have that level of success.
Brennan, with the chart that you just gave us, by the way, I just snapshotted it, so I'm looking at it. But if you guys didn't do it, sorry.
It's in the book, so you can it's all in the book. So
download the book, people. It's free.
Brennan, when we're looking at just the 3 Fs, forget the other ones. You've got 30% for feeling, 25% for facts, and 20% for fun.
Yeah.
Do you suggest, because I'm thinking after reading the last book you have here, I'm thinking of format. I'm thinking of what's the format that I can always go to start. And when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at, well, how do I hook the most people knowing what they're attracted to first, right? And I'm looking at your chart and saying, should it be feelings or facts or fun to start off with? What do you suggest? Does that depend on us individually, or what have you seen?
So I would say test it. So what we do with certain clients is we'll create scripts and we'll test, and we'll actually have these Google Docs of color coding the script, like how much is fact, how much is feeling, how much is fun. And then we can play with the hook and determine, which one to lead with, and test kind of what the effectiveness of each one is. So it's, if you're playing with the feeling, fact, and fun, any 3 of those you can start with. It's just kind of testing with your kind of format, with your audience of, which one start with. But also you need to kind of know how you typically communicate too, because, you know, I would typically say start with the one that you have the strongest in, because it's going to feel the most authentic and comfortable with, and then layer in the others. And again, layering in the others, you don't have to spend a lot of time in there. You can just, you know, talk within that communication way just for a few minutes or even for a few seconds. And, you know, in terms of how he sold the house, I didn't spend a long period of time on each one. You just need to serve that, you know, the way that people perceive for a very short period of time, just to make sure that they grab the attention.
And guys, yes, this is recorded. Brendan, okay, I got you. So I will test it out. And in fact, I'll start color coding to make sure I know which one is working with some of our videos.
Hey guys,
Nick,
I gotta hop off because I gotta go pick up my kids from school. So Tristan, you
fine.
can wrap
Only
it
got
up
3
and
minutes.
see if there's any questions. But Brendan, always a pleasure. It was a lot of fun. Lots of lots of good information there to take into account and start using. So I appreciate you being here with us. Thanks everybody. I'll see you soon.
All right, take care,
Hey,
Nick.
Nick. So, dude, I like this, man. In fact, I feel like we barely scraped the book. Like we didn't even get into the formats that you talked about. So I'd love to have you on again on the podcast side. No, we won't have visuals, but we can get more people on this book so they can download it. Yeah, guys,
let's
I'll
dig
set
in
that
deeper
one up.
with it.
And then, guys, if you missed any piece of this, it's on our YouTube channel for Lab Code Agents. So take a look there. It'll be up in about 2 hours. We're just working on edit. We'll edit it out and then put a little nice graphic of Brandon on there. So give it 2 hours. Lab Code Agents YouTube. Brandon, you've got a lot of awesome links here. Where would people get all of you if they want to go to one link so they can go to that one? Would it be that new book?
I would go to hookpoint.com if you want kind of all the information. But if you I put the link to the book in there. I'll put both, you know, so hookpoint.com. And then just if you want to get the book, you can download it there. But the book goes super deep into kind of everything that we talked about today.
It does. You did a really good job on that one, man. Yours. So it's funny that Nick brought it up, but I just finished reading Gary Vaynerchuk's book and then yours. So I feel like he touched on a lot of different things. I don't know if you've read it, but he touched on a lot of different things. It's like you do this specific examples. And I feel like yours was like, okay, great job, Gary. Now let's go deeper. I'm like, holy shit, it's a perfect combination, man. Yours
Yeah,
is
like how
winning.
you do it.
Yeah, which is great, by the way. So great job. Great job. Hook Point, Brandon, anything else, man?
No, thanks for the time. Pleasure connecting with you and everybody that tuned in for this today.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for jumping in. Brandon, I'll text you and then we'll do another one.
Okay. All right, take care.
Thanks.
Bye.